So welcome to today's final training for Claim Your Niche. This one is about what your website messaging communicates to prospective clients and how to be clear about who you work with at the top of your website. So this is based on us getting some business coaching to help with our branding and our messaging, and lots of things that we've learnt along the way about how important it is to be very clear and give a message that will reach your ideal client, and also potentially screen out the people that are not right to work with you. Because if you're too broad, you will get inquiries from anyone and everyone. And that's not a very efficient way to work, as we've been discovering in this program. All right, so let's make a start today. Just take a moment and pause to think about, what does your website say about what you do and who you work with? When I first started creating websites for my business, it was very standard clinical psychology kind of website, listing in bullet points the diagnoses that I help to treat and giving a big blurb about my training, my academic background, that type of thing. And as I sort of went along in my career, I just felt that that didn't really communicate much about me as a person. It didn't really sort of give a sense of who I am, my essence, if you like. So it felt very generic and very similar to what everyone else was doing. And then I guess at some point I became a bit bored, a bit bored in the way I was approaching work. And I wanted to, inject more passion and excitement back into my work. And that led me down a path of joining some business masterminds and learning more about working in this more well-being space, in the more entrepreneurial space, but even just working in a specific sort of niche area that I find energizing, which is why I've been really enjoying delivering this program. Okay, so that's what today's training is all about, your website, but also we're going to go into different social media platforms and different, online platforms that you can use to connect with the people that potentially would want to work with you. Okay. So let's go through, we're going to go through a number of elements of a good website for therapists or practitioners. And you can sort of take what you want from this, and we'll have time to unpack all of it at the end, just to sort of see what it brings up for you. So the first element that you might want to think about including on your website is a headline. So this is obviously not the web address, which is the www part. It is that one sentence that is the first thing that anyone is going to see when they visit your website, whether they're on a laptop, a desktop, or a mobile phone. The headline is going to be visible to anyone, whatever device they're on. So obviously, what you want in that headline is to sort of invite in your ideal client. You want them obviously to read down the website and find out a bit more about who you are and what you offer. I mean, so imagine if you were Googling and that headline didn't actually include a sentence, but it just said, Jane Smith, psychologist, and then maybe what degrees Jane Smith had. If you're seeing, 10 or 20 of those in a row, why would someone stop and read on when they're not really finding anything new about that person, about Jane Smith? Okay, so what might that headline include? So I've got a few ideas or sentence starters here. So this was based on some business coaching that we've been getting to support us in our own business. And it's usually just everyday language. Things like, are you ready to ... Are you ready to, step into, the most authentic version of yourself, for example? So it's a question that the person looking at it would need to answer for themselves. Or you could have something like, for busy women or burnt out parents, new parents, for recently divorced women who want to ... would be another example of a headline. Or, I support busy professionals to ... to introduce fun back into their lives. Or it could be something like, embrace your inner child, or embrace your fun side. Anything like that would be a headline that is going to speak directly to your ideal client. And it's also going to repel or put off people who are probably not ideally suited to working with you, because they're going to read that and they're going to unconsciously or consciously say, no, that's not me. And they will move on from your website. Okay, so there's the headline, and you will see it whenever someone does a web search. If they click on your page, they'll be able to see it in that first screen. Really important. Okay, a sub-headline, an optional thing where you might go just a little bit deeper into the problem that you solve. So the sub-headline could be something like, let go of people-pleasing, or perfectionism, or such and such, and do this instead. Or get ready to face your, subconscious programming, or hidden schemas, or hidden patterns. If you're schema focused like we are. Or explore the ways in which perfectionism is blocking you from living your best life, or whatever it is. The point is that obviously with that subheadline, immediately your ideal clients, if they're suited to working with you, they're going to be going, oh my gosh, finally, I found the person that's going to help me to solve my problem. Can you see how different that is to a generic website that you see that we've been conditioned to put out there is just these really safe websites that are not going to offend anyone. They're not going to exclude anyone. But that becomes a problem for the therapist, obviously, because if the therapist is all-inclusive, I see anyone and everyone for any problem at any stage of the healing journey, we all know what the outcome of that is for the therapist. And so that's no good for anyone, because then you're probably going to reach a point where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I'm too tired. You might develop all this resentment, overwhelm, burnout, and then you start looking at how to become a florist or an interior designer. But, for many of us, I believe, who are here doing this program, you have like a calling to do this work. You wouldn't feel satisfied. You might go and be that florist, but then there still might be something calling you back into working in the mental health and well-being space. So we want to find a way that we can do it in a balanced way and not pretend that we can serve anyone and everyone. It's just not efficient, and it's just not possible to learn all of the techniques, all of the modalities that will help such a broad range of clients. All right. So here's ours, the wellbeing codes. This is what you will see when you first land on our page. Are you ready to make your own wellbeing and growth your top priority? So I am sure that everyone here in this training is saying, yes, 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 I am. So that is really calling out our ideal client to come work with us. And then this subheading, it says, and release the outdated patterns that are blocking your vitality and zest for life. So this is a very sort of specific message. We work with mainly professional women, actually, to be honest. 95% of our clients are women, and usually in most of our training workshops, we have one token man, and he never knows until he gets there. But yeah, we have a lot of fun, and he's always glad that he came in the end and gets a lot out of our training. But, you know, mostly we work with professional women, and on reading this, they usually resonate with the message that we're putting out there. Okay, so let's look at a few other elements that are going on here. Images, your navigation, and your content offer. So images, in the business coaching that we've received, the advice was to provide an image of your end result. What do people look like after they've worked with you? They look like this. The people that work with us, you know, they walk away and they're like, you know, I've reconnected with my authentic self, and, you know, I'm just enjoying my life on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to an image of someone before they work with you, you know, which is going to look, well, haggard and tired and burnt out and sad. Okay, so images are important because what you want is for your ideal client to see those images, and that's sort of unconsciously what they are desiring. They're wanting to get to a point where they're like, that's me. That could be me in that picture. Okay, images. Navigation up the top, is it clear what to click on? You know, depending on what do I want to find out here on this website. I can find out about schema coaching. You know, maybe I don't even know what that is, but I'm going to click and find out what schema coaching is. In terms of content offer, well, here's some podcasts that people could listen to. So that's any type of free content that you might have. Maybe you've got an ebook or just a 3-page PDF file, or you might have a little video on YouTube, perhaps. But it's a way for people to sample your work and get a sense of, you know, what type of services, what type of products, or what type of therapy approach you have. Here we have information about our workshops and our programs, and contact us. So that's all pretty clear in terms of the navigation. So that's what people are going to find if they come to our website. Okay, another element is social proof. Okay, so this is some kind of signal that, you know, we're not new to this. We've been doing this work for a while. And in the US, it's very common and allowed to use testimonials, to have, you know, examples of clients who have worked with you, writing about their experiences and the outcomes that they've received. Obviously, in Australia, that's a no-no if you are registered as a health professional. So we're always looking for creative ways around that. But I guess when it comes to your work as a therapist, that's really frowned upon. But, you know, when it comes to if you have a product or a book or a workshop, you know, I am starting to see more and more testimonials pop up when it comes to an actual product. So that's just something that we're going to play with. But for now, our social proof is our qualifications. We're psychologists, we're schema coaches, and wellbeing educators. So people can go and research and find out what our backgrounds are in schema therapy. They can see that we've presented at some workshops, and they can find out that we're running education. But, you know, on your own bio page, you could go more into detail about your own training, obviously, and and give people a sense of your experience in the area that you work in. I also think it's nice to, refer to your own life experience. That's part of social proof as well, is that, you've been through some of the ups and downs of life. So you're coming, really from that lived experience as well. Okay. Then you might want to go on and talk about some of the features of your services and the benefits. Okay, and the headings that we use to draw people into reading about our services are based on, the actual client. So this first feature that we have is support for busy women. So, if you're reading that and you say, support for busy women, is that me? Yes, that's me. Then you would read on. If you're a busy man, you're not going to read that. If burnout is not a problem for you, you're probably going to skim over that. You're going to say, no, that's not me. But for those busy women who resonate with that, they're going to read on and find out more about our Replenish program. And it goes into, this is for you if, you're busy and you want to slow down and honor your nervous system, etc. And it's focused on gently and playfully healing lifelong patterns or schemas. So the people that that's for are going to obviously resonate with that. Okay. The next feature that we have on our website, it says for schema-focused practitioners. So this is more of an educational offering, more of a professional development offering. Are you a practitioner who wants to learn specific positive pathways towards greater states of well-being? So you're like, okay, that's me. I'm going to read on and find out about that. Okay, and underneath these are buttons that take you to the sort of the landing page that goes more into detail about these programs. Also, we have on our homepage one-on-one coaching mentoring, buttons to meet both of us. Or if you prefer a self-guided approach to well-being. Okay, so really our homepage covers all of the, most of the services and offerings that we have. And by the end of our homepage, it's very clear who we work with, what approach we take, and what clients are going to benefit most from working with us and which clients this is not really relevant for. Okay. Somewhere on your website, you want to have a call to action. So you want to make it easy for people to reach out to you and talk about working with you. So we like phone calls. We like to have phone calls with people because it's dynamic. There's that sort of immediate opportunity to ask questions, all of that. But email is fine as well. A lot of people feel safer with email because they don't feel like they're as on the spot or having to make a decision. But the type of people that we're working with, we really want to have that opportunity to have more of a connection with them. So we offer a 15-minute phone chat. So this is using Calendly and sort of integrating it onto our website so that people can see the available dates and book a time to have a call with me. Okay. All right. So social media. Let's now chat about social media. So this is another way that you can connect with your potential new clients. And I think it's great because it offers more of a personal way to connect with your audience, with your new clients, with your existing clients. It's a new thing for therapists because, there's all these rules about ethics and guidelines around that. So a lot of people are a bit fearful about using social media. So it really depends on your comfort level with how comfortable you are putting yourself out there, being seen. I've just pushed through this. I'm comfortable with this now. I'm comfortable using social media because I've done relationship coaching that obviously involves talking a little bit about my own story and how I came to be a relationship coach, which includes sharing details like, I have been married before and divorced and, have a blended family and those sorts of details. So it really is up to you, your comfort level with regards to risk. But I'm now seeing the full range of, therapists who are out there, living their best life, in bikini shots and things like that. I'm not quite at that level of bikini shots, but I really do like this idea of showing up and, being real and authentic, and people really having a sense of who I am and what I stand for, and, have a bit of a sense of my values as well. So all of these platforms are opportunities for that. So with Facebook, there are a few options. One is that you can create an individual profile, which is more business oriented. So let's say you're Jane Smith and you have a private Facebook profile and all your family members and friends are on that and you share pictures of your weekend. Then you can have another Facebook profile that you designate just for work. So it's like your personal profile, but you're not posting anything that you're uncomfortable with the general population seeing. And also when you're adding people based on your common work interests, because you work in the same sort of area. And it is more just for building business relationships. Okay, so you can have 2 Facebook profiles. Okay, the other thing you can have on Facebook is a business page. So we have a Wellbeing Codes business page, which is kind of like a live website, really. It's like a billboard where you can, instead of getting onto your website and making changes, you're just posting blogs or updates about, workshops or just, writing content about what you do so that people have a sense of what they might get from working with you. And then there are Facebook groups. So that requires another level of interaction and connections and building relationships in a group that, people from the outside can't see the content. Right, then we have Instagram. So that would be great if you're comfortable making video posts, because on Instagram, it really is that really personal kind of connection. If you get on there and see the people that are doing great on Instagram, they're putting out a lot of video content and it's really relevant content and people are liking it and saying, oh, this has helped me so much, that type of thing. Twitter, I'm not on Twitter, so I don't know too much about how that works, but obviously that's a massive platform. And then there's TikTok. So TikTok obviously is for, a much younger audience going to be on TikTok, but I think it's going to become more and more popular over, the next 5 years. I reckon it's going to explode, and it's a great opportunity if you, have, say, a product or you want to scale your business. I'd be exploring that as well. So LinkedIn is another one that is great, especially if you're working in the space that I'm working in, which is more professional development, business side of things. Okay, so social media is a great way to create a connection with your audience and give them a sense of how you can help and who you are. And, I'm on Instagram and there's lots and lots and lots of therapists on Instagram with their own Instagram profile, and they offer great content, and you do get a sense of, who's working in what kind of niche. All right. Okay. So also, I just want to chat about this concept of relationship marketing. Okay, so relationship marketing is based on providing ongoing content and connection with either your current clients or your audience. They might not have worked with you, but they follow you and they like your content over the long term. Okay. And it gives your audience a sense of who you are and what you do. And it could include value add email blogs. So frequently I will write like a blog post, sort of like a mini article. Yeah, a mini article about a particular topic like unrelenting standards or burnout, or what is stopping therapists from living their best lives, that type of thing. Anything that comes to mind and you think, oh, I'm going to write, an article or a structured piece on this. Social media posts where you might provide tips or hacks to your audience. And that's like a taste of what you offer. So if I get on there and I create a 2-minute video on Instagram and I talk about one I did, it's the importance of using desire-based language, what you want in life, using the language I want. I want to work towards more connection in my life. And it was like a 2-minute video. That type of thing is going to get people thinking. And if they get value out of it and they apply your tip or your hack, they're going to come back and continue watching what you do. Okay, so relationship marketing is different to transactional marketing, which is more that traditional type of marketing, which is more focused on getting sales. So, previously I would sort of send out an email and it would just be, we've got a workshop going on, click here to register and attend. So if you sent out that more sort of traditional transactional marketing without connecting with your audience, there's a possibility that, well, they haven't made enough of a connection yet, so they may not explore that any further. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the difference between what's called a cold audience, which is people that have never heard of you, don't know what you do, don't know your stuff or your brand or what you offer, and marketing to those people, versus what's called a warm audience, which is people that are aware of you, or your stuff, your brand, know what you do, maybe have read a few of your blog posts or watch your videos, and therefore they're already enjoying your content and are more likely to join your program or work with you, reach out as a therapist, you as a therapist, if they're more of a warm audience. Okay, so that's some things to think about in terms of what messages that you might want to put out there to the marketplace. If you're in the arena, which is, we are all in the arena, and visible and showing up and being seen, then it's really important to, just stick with communicating about who you are, what you're about, and what you offer. All right. So just finally, remember that you are your brand. So I think a lot of the time people are going to want to work with you because of who you are and your energy, and they like the way that you are going about your life. They're picking up on, how you go about your life based on how you show up, and they resonate with you, and maybe they're like-minded and they want to work with you. So that's the final message, is that you are your brand, and it's okay to come out of hiding and show up online so that people can find you and work with you.